With the pandemic last year, you hear a lot of innovative ideas, new ideas, MiFi hotspots on buses. A lot of MiFis were being handed out. Were those paid via eRate funds
No,
or no?
nope. Yeah, so those were paid through the Emergency Connectivity Fund or other funding mechanisms. The relief efforts. There were three relief efforts for billions of dollars. The total sum was somewhere in the neighborhood of $252 billion thrown at K-12 education and libraries over the course of the last year and a half through the pandemic. So there's been a ton of money thrown at it for other things, and those are like ESSER funds, emergency secondary education relief and emergency relief funding and those kinds of things. So there's been a ton of money thrown at it outside of eRate. And so a really smart school district, what they'll do is they'll take and say, okay, I need to buy this infrastructure on campus, but I have some ESSER funds left over here. I can marry the two and really leverage up complete government funding for 100% of a wireless project, as an example.
Okay.
They've also been doing things like a lot of wireless or a lot of districts and libraries have been putting up wireless out in the public space outside the doors, so that people can do drive-bys, that kind of thing, and actually do things wirelessly and gain access to the internet.
Like a park and serve type solution.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Do you see any potential changes? Because I hear some people say, well, I think the FCC is going to change some rules to where, we can overcome this challenge of serving the kids, especially if it's a shelter in place and, you're spending the same amount of money for connectivity in the school building. If they're not in the school building using that, can it be extended to serve a community?
So not with eRate funds today. And I don't see that changing. It's going to be an on-campus solution. And as we go more to both hybrid and remote and on-campus kinds of situations, those networks are going to be stretched. And what we're finding is that there really is a need for more expansion of the on-campus broadband. When you see something like a hybrid classroom where you have half the class in school and half the class off campus at their homes or wherever that might be, doing their remote or distance learning applications, that puts a tremendous strain on a network. I mean, that's huge. You have basically 30 real-time simultaneous connections aimed at that one classroom. Multiply that times 20 in a small school. In a large high school environment, that could be 67 classrooms. It's brutal. And so they really do need to up their game as far as their networks are concerned. And that's what we're seeing and what we saw last year's applications and this year's applications. They didn't slow down at all as far as the infrastructure on campus.
Right.
Where we see the delays right now potential changes are with school buses and making them eligible. They were made eligible under the Emergency Connectivity Fund program. We see that happening potentially under eRate. The other thing we see is cybersecurity. The number one target, according to the FBI, of cybersecurity fraud or ransomware attacks is school districts, believe it or not, because they can scrape a lot of information out of their student information systems and that sort of thing that they can then use for youngsters. And so, who knows what kids' social security number is being used for when they're in the first grade, right? But guess what? That's a prime target. So we're seeing a lot of cybersecurity discussions. With the makeup of the FCC commission today, with an acting commissioner that has not been, she's been nominated now to be the full-time commissioner, but she's acting in her capacity at this point in time. And with one seat open and just now announced as a nomination, we really haven't had a full makeup to the FCC to make any decisions. And obviously there's some, R's versus D's kind of stuff going on as well at that level. And that's created a delay in what we think is going to happen. We think, based on some latest events, i.e. one of the commissioner's kids' schools was hacked recently, and that's changed their thinking a little bit on security, that kind of thing. We see that there's impetus along with a lot of community support for making cybersecurity, as an example, 100% eligible. I'm not sure that that's going to happen within the confines of what's about to be announced. The eligible services list is about to come out. We're hopeful that there may be some tweaks to that to open that language up a little bit for cybersecurity. Whether they can make full school buses wholesale eligible or not, it's a whole different discussion. I would think that those are going to be report and order kinds of situations. So again, you know, it's hopefully it's good news, but it's a delay mode at this point.
So what's the date for the ESL?
That's a good question. If you go back, I was just somebody just pinged me last night, as a matter of fact, going, what are they waiting for? And the answer is, we don't know. It's, you know, who knows what shadows lurks in the minds of men kind of thing. I'll date myself a little bit. The reality is that, you know, with what we hope are the changes, every day of delay is good news, in my opinion. And normally we would have seen it about now. So I expect it this week, frankly, or next week at the latest. It would be inordinate. It would be a little bit extraordinary if it wasn't announced before the end of November. That's be a little different. So I expect it any day.